Hey, it's Jordan with TYT and TYT Network. It's Saturday, February 28th, 2016. I'm in sunny New York, headed out tomorrow to Colorado for Super Tuesday coverage. But today is obviously the South Carolina Democratic primary. You got Secretary Clinton versus Senator Sanders. We're not gonna cover it up here. Sanders is probably going to get killed. Polls right now have anywhere from him losing 25 points to 35 points. So really depends. I think for Senator Sanders, you could kind of look at this the same way Secretary Clinton looked at it in New Hampshire. Expect defeat, move on. He obviously is going to lose because of the huge gap among African American voters. So I think you're going to see Sanders continue to court the African American vote. I also think that the media slowly is starting to cover some of the statements Clinton had made when she was First Lady, as well as Bill Clinton's policies against African Americans, which predominantly sent African Americans to jail, many cases for life for drug offenses. So I think you're going to start to see the media covering it a little more. But Super Tuesday, Bernie is very competitive in several states. I'll give you the Super Tuesday polls right now. So Super Tuesday is Tuesday. Again, myself and Eric Byler will be in Colorado with coverage. And for right now, Hillary's looking good in Virginia. She's looking good in Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, and Texas. So she's going to win more states than Bernie. But Bernie is also going to win some states. Bernie has a shot in Colorado. He's got a shot in Minnesota, Massachusetts, Oklahoma. And obviously he's going to, do very well in his home state of Vermont. There really is not a lot of polls for Colorado and Minnesota. But 538, which is Nate Silver's blog on ESPN, had the 2008 election very, very accurately. He says there hasn't been enough recent polling in Colorado or Minnesota for us to make forecasts of the caucuses there, but we'd probably consider Sanders the favorite in those states. So if Sanders wins Colorado, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Massachusetts, it's not just about the delegates. It changes the momentum media mojo thing, where after tonight, the media is going to declare Bernie all but dead because Hillary's going to win South Carolina by a pretty wide margin. But if Bernie wins 3 or 4 states, racks up delegates, I think that you have renewed fight where the media is going to say Bernie's got a shot. It's really a matter of Bernie needs to have an upset in a few states, which we'll get to. I wanted to get into something that really, really stood out to me as a former producer at Fox and then MSNBC. Chris Matthews did a college town hall with Senator Sanders Thursday night. It was also the Republican debate that night, so the Matthews town hall didn't get a lot of coverage, but I was live tweeting about it. And it was probably one of the most egregious things I've seen in terms of bias. Chris Matthews has been criticized widely because he pretty much has had Hillary Clinton on and served her up tea, softball after softball with Secretary Clinton. But Matthews interviewed Sanders, and I'd say for the first 15 minutes, it was essentially the Spanish Inquisition.
How's that going to change the day you're in office? You won't have a Supreme Court on your side.
What I will have is millions of people demanding...
You need 60 votes to get a Supreme Court nominee. No, we're starting at the very point of can you do what you say you're going to do?
Yes, damn right, I can do what I say.
How are you going to do it? What have you done like this? Have you ever done anything like this? Have you ever gotten 60 votes? Have you ever gotten 60 votes for anything in the Senate?
He was grilling Sanders essentially about, how are you going to get any of your policies through? That you need 60 votes to block a filibuster in the Senate. A lot of the establishment talk coming from Matthews, all inside baseball. Sanders repeatedly answered, I'm not an inside the Beltway guy like you. I am all about mobilizing people to come to the Capitol and vote the Republicans out, to put pressure on the Republicans. Matthews didn't like that answer, so he kept on grilling and grilling and grilling. And I looked at it and I just thought, aside from being inherently unfair, it was just, he wasn't being a journalist. He was really working for the Clinton campaign. I get criticism sometimes that I'm working for the Sanders campaign. But if I'm going to be aggressive with someone, I'm not going to go over the top and shout at them and ask them the same question 17 times. I'm not here to elect Bernie Sanders. I'm here to really put a face to the average voter, as well as push back on Republicans and Democrats when they're spouting bullshit. And if Bernie Sanders was spouting bullshit, I would do the same thing. So I encourage you to watch the full interview Matthews did with Sanders, because I thought it was really, really egregious how he was just grilling him and talking over him. And when Sanders gave the answer, it wasn't good enough for him. And it really went on for 15 minutes until Sanders finally said, and I'm sorry, I think we're going around in circles. So just another display of the bias against Bernie Sanders and the favor of Hillary Clinton. Yes, the media has gone on and on about her emails, but in terms of the matchup between Hillary versus Bernie, it's not even close. CNN continually asks Bernie supporters, what about that he's a socialist? Like, in their tone that it's a boogie word. So, the media is going to play a factor, as it always does. I wanted to point out some interesting takeaways that I got from interviews I did in South Carolina. We've been posting new interviews on the channel, TYT Politics. You could find it at youtube.com/TYT Politics. Tell your mother, tell your father, tell your friends, tell everyone. We're spreading it through the grassroots right now. I interviewed a guy named Carlton Boyd. He was a 35-year-old who lived down in Columbia, South Carolina, and he was very active during the Confederate flag issue, the battle to take it down. He was actually there the night it was voted on to take it down. And a few things he said really stood out to me. When I asked him about Bernie's Wall Street message and why it might not be connecting with African Americans.
Because we're so far removed and living from paycheck to paycheck that we don't even have a chance to invest in stock markets. Even when you talk about Wall Street and Main Street, you're talking about rural South Carolina. Main Street is still so far away from dirt roads and people who still need to have some type of 401k or retirement plans. But as I said, they're living paycheck to paycheck. And since inflation has gone up way back in 2007, African Americans still haven't recovered from that recession. We're not even thinking about Wall Street.
So that's really interesting because, a lot of people have wondered, including me, why Sanders' message might not resonate with African Americans, not only because they are more familiar with Hillary Clinton, but African Americans are not as inherently knowledgeable or even passionate about the Wall Street issue because a lot of them are living paycheck to paycheck, like he said. And a lot of them don't have 401ks, Roth IRAs, or lost that much money in the financial crash like their white counterparts. So it was an interesting note. Another thing that I thought was interesting. I would think Martin Luther King, Bernie Sanders is not Martin Luther King, but that message of let's dream big, let's do this thing would really resonate with African Americans. And right now it's not, at least in South Carolina. So is there just, there's been kind of an evolution of the African American people to pragmatism rather than that idealism?
I think what it is, we're all about survival. Since beginning of times, and when I say beginning of times, since we came to this country, it was all about survival. However, the election of President Obama gave us more hope. I know some people say, oh, hope, that's all hope is, but you have to have hope in order to have a dream. Once you have that dream, it's up to you to nurture it and then move forward. So actually Bernie Sanders and everything that he's speaking of right now, he just gives us hope to actually move on, to just say, hey, at least there's hope. As long as we have hope and we can hold on to it and pull ourselves up, we can move forward and actually make things happen.
So I think what he was trying to say there is African Americans today don't have the luxury to think big. They have to think survival, which is connected to the pragmatist argument, where Secretary Clinton is talking about, we're going to change the country, but we're going to do it in small steps because this is what's realistic. And that's what I got from speaking with the NAACP president down in Charleston, South Carolina, which will be going up in the next few days, and speaking to a lot of just residents there. They're not even thinking in terms of that we could really get free health care or free college or any of these things because they've been sold a bill of goods from politicians for centuries, and nothing's happened for them. So I would encourage you to go onto the channel. I did a really cool interview in a barbershop, if you like my hair, with two of the barbers who support Bernie Sanders, but it was kind of like a raw everyday barbershop where people come and talk politics. And we were talking about the 90s and Bill Clinton's record on mass incarceration, some of the things Hillary's said. So it was very interesting. I just want to touch on the Republican race for a minute. On Trump, I want to give you a little behind the scenes. When we were in South Carolina at his victory party, where he won resoundingly, I saw, besides the fact that I was blocked from leaving the media section, that video is also up on the channel, his staffers would not let media actually leave the back section for media. I was trying to just go out and interview supporters, also known as reporting. They wouldn't let me out. So there's a lot of media censorship going on, and it's not widely talked about. But I saw there's a lot of mean-spiritedness at Donald Trump rallies. I don't want to generalize. I'm not blanketing all of Trump supporters. But, you know, before he came out to his victory speech, you had Jeb Bush on the giant TV screen announcing his suspending his campaign. You had people cheering, which you'd expect. You know, a competitor just suspended his campaign. But they were also chanting low energy. They were also chanting some things that I'm not going to tell you, curse words, you know, things about his wife, who's a Mexican American. There's just a lot of mean-spirited. I get a vibe like I'm in a high school male locker room with a lot of the bullies or guys trying to talk tough. When Lindsey Graham was shown on screen, senator from South Carolina, a lot of them were cheering gay, gay. I don't know if Trump is emboldening these people to really just tap into their worst instincts, or these are the people, this is how they are, and Trump is saying it's okay. Everybody before was telling you can't say these things because it's politically incorrect. But there's a lot of mean-spiritedness going on. In conclusion, we're headed to Colorado tomorrow. We're going to be there for 3 days, and we're going to report from there on Super Tuesday, where Colorado is one of the close states that Bernie Sanders has a shot at winning. If you want to give us some suggestions on what you'd like us to cover in Colorado, there's the marijuana issue, a huge Latino community in Colorado, and a lot of other things there. Feel free to tweet me at Jordan Chariton, JordanChariton. Thanks for watching. This is Jordan with TYT Politics.